Hey guys, what's going on? InsidiousSwede back again here for another YouTube video, and today I am bringing you my favorite manga protagonists of all time. Now, this was an idea inspired by a comment that I received on my discussion video about how I got into collecting manga and anime. At the beginning of the video, I asked my subscribers, you guys, what other kinds of videos would you like to see? And one of the comments that I received is your favorite manga protagonist. So here I am bringing you that list. I picked out 7 of my favorite characters. I didn't really want to force it to be a top 10 list, and I didn't feel like taking off 2 of these characters to make it a top 5. So it is going to be my favorite 7. And before I get into it, of course, I want to mention this is of course going to be a subjective list. If you feel a character should be on here or whatever, I completely get that. There are so many amazing characters out there, but this is just my personal feelings. If you want to leave your favorite characters down below in the description, that'd be fantastic. Maybe there's a character out there for a manga that I haven't heard of yet. That always is very enjoyable to see. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, starting off at number 7, we have one of the first characters that I really kind of fell in love with. This was back 3 years ago when I was really getting into manga, reading as many series as I could find. And this character always just struck me as one of the more likable characters to read, and that is, of course, Hanamichi Sakuragi from the shonen sports manga Slam Dunk, of course, written and drawn by Tatehiko Inoue. And it's just something about Sakuragi that really drew me to him. The fact that he never accepts failure. He always goes at things that he really cares about, even though maybe he doesn't like to show it to everybody. He kind of is one of those people who, even if he cares about something a lot, he doesn't want everybody else to know that. Another thing that really struck me with him is, even when he has these setbacks or he realizes that he has limitations, he doesn't let that stop him. He always pushes forward with determination. He's just such an amazing character. I've had a fun time reading through this series twice now, and even the second time I saw myself laughing at the stupid stuff he'd do, between games or during practice or whatever. He's just a very likable character, and I definitely wanted to have him on my list at number 7. Alright, so number 6, we have a character that you might be a little bit surprised by, and that's hopefully what's going to be a good thing about this list. I didn't want to use every obvious character that I could find. And this character, different from Sakuragi, he doesn't really stand out in the sense that you would think. He more just kind of fits the world that he was placed in, and I really appreciate that about this series. He's not one of those over-the-top characters that you see in a lot of manga series. He's just kind of one of those people that plays his role and really fits it well, and that is Gesich from Pluto. I think there's more of a German pronunciation to that name, but I've always said it Gesich in my head, so I'm gonna stick with that. But my god, first off, Pluto by Naoki Urasawa is such an amazing series, of course, based off of Astro Boy done by one of the gods of manga, Osamu Tezuka. And Gesich is an interesting character. He's a cop on the police force, but he's a robot at the same time that you probably couldn't distinguish him between another human. He's one of the most realistic robots on Earth, and I think it's because of that he really kind of becomes human in many different ways, but at the same time he's able to put his feelings aside, despite the fact that he can show love unlike most robots. And he's one of those really quiet characters that aren't very assuming, but at the same time they're really fun to read. I had a great time with this series, especially all the stuff that happened at the end of this manga with a certain robot. It really made me love Gesich even more as a main character. And despite the fact that he's not going to be, when you think of Pluto, maybe you're not thinking necessarily about Gesich, you're thinking more about the story that's being told. But for me, I think that's one of the perfect things about this character. He really fits his role, he really fits the atmosphere, and I just think it was a fantastic choice because Gesich didn't have to be the main character. He could have used Adam as the main character. He didn't have to go this route, but I really appreciate the fact that he did. So at number 6, I have Gesich. Alright, the next character that I have is not going to be a surprise to anybody. This was one I honestly had a little bit higher when I was first figuring out where everybody would go on this list, but after really thinking about it, I feel like the other 4 deserve to be a little bit higher. So at number 5, I have one of the most likable characters in the history of manga, Goku. And for some of you that have seen a lot of my older videos, at one point I had Dragon Ball as my favorite manga of all time. I can't say that anymore, of course, but the reason why I loved Dragon Ball was because of Goku. Unlike a series like Pluto, I always felt like Dragon Ball was always supposed to be about Goku, so when that kind of changed in Z, it was a little bit unfortunate because the thing about this series is that Goku is such an amazing protagonist. Everything that he does is so fun to watch. His ability to become this incredible godlike figure, from getting more stronger and stronger through all of the stuff that he does, is one of the most enjoyable things I've ever read. But beyond that, his loyalty towards people that he cares about, the willingness to do anything for anybody that he cares about, it has always been a trait that I admire. And Akira Toriyama got it right with Goku. He's definitely one of those pillars of manga and manga characters and protagonists, so I definitely had to have him on this list. I was going to put him a bit higher, but again, I feel like the other four are just a bit more enjoyable for me to read. So anyways, at number 5 we have Goku. Alright, so the next character that I have is one that I'm sure everybody was expecting to see at one point, and so here he is at number 4, Uzumaki Naruto. Now it's funny because I still say that Bleach is more enjoyable for me to read, and I also feel like One Piece is also better, but I think the best character out of the big 3 manga series is Naruto. I think he is the definition of a shonen character. His charismaticness, is that a word? Sure. His charisma is larger than life. His ability to be himself without letting other people tear him down has always been something that I loved reading about Naruto. And a lot like Goku, I see in Naruto that he has his ability to do anything he needs to protect the people that he cares about, which is of course a very common trait in shonen battle mangas, but I feel like Naruto and Masashi Kishimoto has perfected this essence, and I just love Naruto. I feel like, for me at least, a lot of the latter half of Shippuden, I wouldn't have kept reading unless I didn't love Naruto as much as I did. I feel like, again, when the manga kind of moved away from the character, it took out the soul of the series, because the soul of Naruto is, well, Naruto. So I definitely had to have him at number 4. There was no way he wasn't going to be on this list at some point or another, but definitely one of the best shonen characters I've ever read. Loved the character to death, and he made this series for me. So at number 4, I have Uzumaki Naruto. Alright, the next character that I have is one of my personal favorites, and if I was going to be a little bit biased, I would have put him in number 1. But I feel like the series as a whole is so amazing, and the main character is just as good, but that doesn't mean I can also keep him at number 1. So if you know me and know my favorite series of all time, this character is not going to be surprising to you for how high he is on my list, but that is Thorfinn. So first off, if you don't know, Vinland Saga is my favorite manga of all time. I love Vinland Saga. I think it's an amazing series. And Thorfinn, as the protagonist, is a perfect character. He's such an angry individual. He wants revenge for a lot of different things that happens in his life. He is so narrow-sighted. He just can't get out of this little bubble that he's in about wanting to kill anybody that's done him wrong, and beyond that, just to be alone. And he's one of those really interesting characters that it takes him a very long time to change, but at the same time I can appreciate that, because change isn't easy, it doesn't come quickly. And from Vinland Saga, from chapter 1 to chapter 100, he, in my opinion, has the most growth as any character I've ever read. But it took him 100 chapters, and I can appreciate that. Every step along the way, you see Thorfinn becoming a little bit different, a little bit better, especially considering where he started out with. I love reading Vinland Saga for that reason. I love seeing Thorfinn change, and it's really an amazing series. And beyond changing, even he grows up, and that's another thing that you don't see in a lot of manga series. Normally it's just kind of a set time and place, but with Vinland Saga it takes place over years and years, and you see all the things that he goes through, and you see him become a different person altogether. And I think for that reason I really had to have Thorfinn at number 3. And beyond that, I do love Vinland Saga. I think the world of Vikings is amazing. I think the way that it's told by Makoto Yukimura is phenomenal, and I definitely wanted to have Thorfinn at number 3. Alright, second to last character before we finish this one off. This guy has been one of my favorite characters I've ever read, and probably a year ago he would have been number 1, but at number 2 I have Light Yagami. And you know, there's so much to say about Light as a main character. He's a rational sociopath. You love to hate him. And he's also a genius. You know, there's so many things going on with Light. He's probably the deepest shonen protagonist in any series out there. I wouldn't even say that I've read. I really believe that this character, the way that he, you know, his thought process about how he does everything, but at the same time, it's so twisted and demented. And you know, he's probably the only mass murderer I could probably like to read in any series. I mean, he's such an evil individual, but at the same time, the way he does things, the way he carries himself, the way he describes things, makes you think that what he's doing isn't necessarily all that bad. And you know, it's just an amazing experience. I mean, the Death Note concept about writing somebody's name in a notebook and them dying through whatever circumstance is a very brilliant idea. But again, Light Yagami makes that idea even better because of how he goes about it, and I really appreciate that from, you know, somebody like Sugumi Oba, who's a genius at creating these characters. And you know, again, Light would have been number 1 about a year ago. He's just the deepest character I've ever read, and I doubt I'd probably ever find one deeper. He's just that incredible of a character. The way he does everything is so interesting to read, and that's why I've read this manga 3 or 4 times now. It's just one of those characters that I can never get enough of. So at number 2 I have Light Yagami. Alright, coming in at number 1, this was a character that I kind of placed there initially, and as I added more and more characters, I tried to find reasons to make them lower, but at the end of the day, I knew in my heart this is my favorite character I've ever read in manga. And that person is Makunoichi Ippo from, of course, Hajime no Ippo, the fighting, the boxing series. It's right now like 1100 chapters plus. And you know, when I first started reading Hajime no Ippo, I wasn't expecting to like it a ton. Maybe I thought I'd go in a couple hundred chapters and then kind of cut myself off because it was just getting too long. But that never happened, and it's because of Makunoichi Ippo. I feel like he's a combination of every character I've ever read. He kind of carries himself like Goku, where he's never going to give up, and even though he may be outclassed or whatever, he always finds a way to win and always finds a way to get stronger. He also has charisma like Naruto, where he always is optimistic. He never looks down on himself or others. He's always a character who believes in the best outcome, even though he's kind of shy to show it. And at the same time, he's a lot like Hanamichi Sakuragi, where he's funny. He just can make die-hard situations lighthearted, and it's just an amazing story. And again, a lot of characters in Hajime no Ippo are good, but Ippo is the soul of this series, and considering how much I love it, there was no way that I couldn't put him at number 1 for my favorite manga character. So that is going to do it for my list, guys. That is everything that I wanted to show off today. If you want to show me your favorite main characters, please feel free to leave a comment down below. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I am InsidiousSwede, and until next time, take care.